Okay, it'd be great to start with a little bit of background on Keeper Security as a company, just the sort of how long it's been going, progress to date, things like that.
Sure. Yeah. Keeper, a lot of people think we're a startup, but we've actually been around for 11 years, maybe 12 now. So, started as a consumer-based product for password management for consumers. Moved more into the B2B space and the channel space in the last probably 5 or 6 years. To really help protect more businesses and enterprises and not just our consumer base. And then in the past couple of years, we've expanded to a PAM offering. So that includes our enterprise password management. And then it also has secrets management, which is machine-to-machine credential sharing in a very secure way. And then also our Keeper Connections Manager, which is sort of a replacement for remoting in VPN access.
Okay, yeah, we'll drill down into the sort of products in a bit more detail, but just before, it'd be good to have your sort of general thoughts on the identity and access management market, just what's going on at the moment, what are the pain points your customers are suffering, and what are the opportunities, I guess, for channel companies yourselves to help them with those issues.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we see it everywhere. It's a problem everywhere. You hear about breaches, you hear about ransomware attacks, phishing attacks, and it's not just everyday people like us who are getting, their identities stolen. Or recently I had somebody file for unemployment using my social security number. So of course I had to call work and say, I still work here, right? So that was good. But I feel like it's everywhere. Like we just hear more and more about this, and it's not even industry specific anymore. For a while we saw it was really big in the retail space, lots of ransomware attacks, malware attacks. Then it was, moving into healthcare, and you're seeing hospitals get breached, which is terrifying. But now it's everywhere. So it's the legal world, it's the financial world, it's just unavoidable. All of these horrible identity management, stealing credentials and stealing people's identity and stealing credit cards, passwords, all of that stuff. It's everywhere. So it's all we hear about, really. But from a Keeper perspective, we look at it as you can get ahead of these things if you're using secure credentials, if you're using 2FA, if you're, double checking that all of your passwords are secure, doing, a scan of our dark web monitoring tool, Breachwatch. All of these things can help to protect you and keep you maybe out of the line of fire for as long as we possibly can. And I think that channel partners in particular are in such a great space to really dive into cybersecurity technologies. It's ever present. It's easy to talk to any customer about what is your cybersecurity posture? What are you doing for managing your credentials? Do your employees use the same password for Facebook as they do to log into their computer? That's a problem, but it's an easy conversation to have if you're starting with an easy, basic concept of cybersecurity, which is secure credentials. So many partners that we talk to are like, oh, cybersecurity is so overwhelming. Like, where do I start? What do I do? There's an easy place to start, and it's called passwords. And from there, we can help you expand further into a larger cybersecurity strategy. But the easiest place to start is talking about passwords, because we all have them. They're all annoying. We all can't remember them. So it's the easiest conversation to have, in my opinion.
Okay, which is a nice segue to the product portfolio. And I was going to ask first up, password manager. So I expect it does what it says on the tin, but give us a bit more detail, please.
Yeah. So our enterprise password management tool is kind of our bread and butter. It's what we really focus on, and it's what we do better than anybody in the market. So the difference between our password management tool and some of our competitors is that when you log into your Keeper vaults, it's not just the entire vault that's encrypted. It is every single record that you have. So my login to Bank of America, my login to my systems at work, my login to TurboTax, Each of those are considered a record, and each of those are encrypted, not just the entire vault. It's also zero trust, zero knowledge. Nobody at Keeper, and this is, good news and bad news, nobody at Keeper can see your passwords or can help you get to your passwords, because everything that happens is encrypted and decrypted on the end user's device. So I couldn't help you if you were locked out if I wanted to. There's no way for me to help you. We do have, some emergency break glass options where you can transfer your account to somebody else and then rebuild it. But for the most part, we're very, very serious about zero trust, zero knowledge. We recently got our FedRAMP certification, which is huge. But in order to get that, we have to have super tight compliancy around zero trust, zero knowledge, 2FA, all of our security posture, all of the, SOC 2 compliances that we have, all of these different things that we need to have for HIPAA and high trust and all of those, compliances that a lot of industries look at very carefully. We have all of that stuff. And in order to maintain that, we have to maintain zero trust, zero knowledge. So those are probably some of the largest differentiators between us and our competitors. And that's really where Keeper shines, is in that credential management space. So just not having to remember your passwords, not having to remember to, rotate them out, and the tool helps you simplify your life. That's the best way to explain it.
And in terms of some of the other parts of the platform, there's privileged access manager. So perhaps again, you can just give us a little bit of more detail as to what that is.
Yeah, so privileged access management, or in our world we call it PAM. It really is, for us, it's the combination of 3 different technologies. So it's enterprise password management, it's Keeper connections management, and then it's our secrets manager, which again is machine to machine credential sharing. So servers talking to each other, isolating certain servers so that if you have, say, a contractor who isn't part of your organization, but needs access to server number 7, but we don't want contractor to have access to servers 1 through 6, we can isolate that and make sure that that contractor only has access to server number 7. So all of those 3 things combined is our PAM solution. And it's something we're really talking about a lot lately. We have some pretty large competitors in that space, but what you'll notice about PAM solutions is they're very complicated, they're very expensive. You have to spend a lot of time and resources, money and people, to get that solution stood up, and it can take months and months and months. So for organizations that are looking for a simplified PAM, that's where we're seeing a ton of success.
Okay, and you referenced then just maybe a little bit more detail, the secrets management and also the connections. So just what those do.
Sure. So secrets management, and I'm not an engineer, but I'll put my sales hat on for you. Secrets manager is really the one that we see a lot of DevOps teams using. So these are like very technical users that are using secrets manager. So your DevOps team, your engineering teams, anyone that's writing code, anyone who's accessing, privileged servers within an organization, that is what secrets manager is really all about. So it's credentials that are being shared between machines. So it's machines talking to each other and communicating with secure credentials. All of that is done we're hosted in AWS environments all over the world. So that is secrets management in a nutshell. And if anyone has more technical questions, please let me know, and I will get Craig, our CTO, on the phone immediately. And then our Keeper Connections Manager is really just an access tool. So it's a way to securely route into whether it's your computer, your network, etc. It's just managing all of those connections, people that are remoting into different machines or different servers. It's just a secure way to connect into the organization's devices, servers, machines, whatever the case may be.
Okay, and I think you've alluded to it in some of those answers, but Keeper, you've got a reputation, I guess, as being something of a disruptor in the market, and I guess it would be good to understand sort of what, and I say you've already sort of given various details, but just encapsulate what it is that you do differently in terms of maybe the cloud angle, unified platform, etc., as opposed to the more, shall we say, traditional solutions that are out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we pride ourselves on being an all cloud company. Nothing, there's no equipment required. You don't have to get any hardware, nothing like that. Everything is hosted in AWS. Our FedRAMP environment is hosted within GovCloud, which is also within AWS. And our data centers are all over the world. So a lot of our customers require that their data be hosted in country. So we take that very seriously, to make sure that we have enough data centers throughout the globe so that everyone can store their data as needed. Again, a differentiator, big time differentiator, is no one else in our space has that FedRAMP certification. There's a few other certifications that we hold that are very hard to get and that most of our competitors don't have. The end-to-end encryption that we do, and like I said, not just in the vault altogether, but each individual record or any documents that you're storing in there. So personally, I store, all my tax documents in my personal vault, not my work vault. I have two. But it keeps everything a lot more secure. It makes your life a lot easier. There's a ton of password management tools out there, but I would argue that ours is the enterprise level solution. So a lot of our customers are, I can't name them, but they're, Fortune 500 companies, they're large hospital groups, they're, cities and states and townships that are using this to make sure all of the employees on any given network are using their passwords responsibly, are storing their credentials safely. I think another disruption of ours is probably the fact that we are moving into the PAM space and not just staying with password management, because there's way more to cybersecurity than just make sure you have a complicated password and that you change it often. It's, there's way more going on than just that. So having the secrets management tool and now the connections management tool, it's kind of an all encompassing solution. And that is not something that a lot of our partners can say. From a sales perspective, I can also say that our channel and MSP programs are definitely the most robust in our space. So in the credential management space, I would say that Keeper's channel and MSP teams are light years ahead of our competitors. And I would love one of them to challenge me on that, because that would be a fun conversation.
Okay, yeah, and again, that neatly brings me on. My next question was going to be about the benefits of the Keeper security platform for MSPs. What can they, what advantage will it give them?
Yeah, absolutely. Our Keeper MSP tool is something I'm particularly proud of. I lead that team, on the sales side, but our CTO, Craig Lurie, he wrote and built this MSP product from the ground up and really focused on what our MSP customers were asking for. So he built this with MSPs almost as consultants. So they were saying, we need this. We want to see each of our managed companies as a separate thing. So if you look at our MSP tool, our MSP console, it looks a little different from our enterprise password management console, but that is tailored to MSPs. So they can see each of their customer within the console, within their admin tool. They can see, customer X is using 200 licenses, customer Y is using 500 licenses, but they need to be using 1,000. How do we roll it out to the rest of them? So our MSP tool in particular is a real point of pride for us. Not all of our competitors have an MSP tool. One of them, I believe, is coming out with an MSP tool, which I have a feeling is going to look very much like ours, but we'll see what happens. But MSPs in particular, everybody talks about, the trusted advisors and all of this. MSPs really are our trusted advisors. These are the people that you go to because they manage and understand all of the different technologies, and they can put it into a stack and get an organization where they need to be for compliance purposes, for organizational purposes. But MSPs in particular really are those advisors that are telling their clients, their managed companies, here's what you need to be doing. You need to be securing your passwords. You need to be using a secure connections manager. If your servers are talking to each other without credential management, that's a problem. So our MSPs are very dialed in. We have a separate Slack channel. It's an external Slack channel that we invite some of our top MSPs to, so that we can get real-time feedback. We monitor the Reddit threads where all the MSPs are saying, well, what about this? And does Keeper do this? And can we do that? So we're very ingrained in the MSP community. We do a lot of events, IT Nation and MSP Expo and all of these things, just so that we can get face-to-face with MSPs and see what they need, what they want. Our largest MSP in the UK is Brigantia, and we see a ton of success with them. And it's, my point there is there's room for everybody. There's so many MSPs. There's so many different levels of MSPs. There's your smaller, like local mom and pop MSP shop. And then there's these huge companies like a Brigantia. But you'll notice that you're getting similar treatment. MSPs are in it to win it. They want you to be secure. They want to make sure you have the best tech stack. So if you're going through somebody who is large, like a Brigantia, you're going to get probably the best of everything and then some. They're going to recommend, you need this, you should be doing this. And in the UK, in EMEA, they have different compliancy regulations, different laws, GDPR. Like, we're doing all of those things to make sure that everything is compliant, everybody is happy, everybody knows how to use the tool. We have, our support teams are 24/7. Our sales reps get involved in probably more technical stuff than they should, but we have a lot of engineers behind us. We have, Craig, our CTO, behind us. There's not a day that goes by that I couldn't ping Craig and say, hey, I have an MSP who has a question about X and Y. And he'd be like, great, let's get them on the phone. Like, this happens every day. Thankfully, we can rely pretty heavily on our partners to do some of that lift for us, because once they start using the Keeper tool, it becomes easier and easier for them to sell it to their customers, to their end clients, whether that's MSPs or selling further into the managed companies of said MSPs.
Okay, yeah, and you referenced Brigantia there. It'd just be good to understand, I suppose, a little bit as a good example of how you work in terms of how you first got involved with them and how that relationship has developed over time. It'd just be good to understand that.
Yeah, so we've had a partnership with Brigantia for, God, I want to say 7 or 8 years. They were an early adopter of Keeper. You'll notice that in their portfolio, they are kind of ahead of a lot of other MSPs in the cybersecurity space. So they're bringing on new technologies that some people haven't heard of before, but in a year or two, everyone will be using it and talking about it. So they're our leading MSP partner distributor in the UK. They are very clever in the way that they run their business. So their customers are so loyal to them. Like, the Brigantia folks do a nice job of being very inclusive. So they do events, they do dinners, they have like their top partners, their top MSPs that are in the game with them. Like, these guys are in the trenches together. And I think that's what makes their partnership different with their customers. They really do have access to sales, marketing, technical experience, and then also the vendors like Keeper. So if Brigantia calls us and said, we did a demo with customer X, but we need a little more help from you guys, can you jump on? First of all, that doesn't happen very often because their technical people are very technical. But if there's something we need to get involved in, we will jump on a call right away and pitch in to help them to get it done. But they really separate themselves by having an all-encompassing approach of MSPs don't just need 1 or 2 piecemeal solutions, they need a stack. And Brigantia does a really nice job of saying, you need this, you need this, you need this, you need this. and you need this thing, which you might not have ever heard about, but in a year from now, you're going to be glad you have it. So they really do a nice job of meeting the needs of their customers and then exceeding those needs.
So it'd be fair to say that both yourselves and Brigantia are what I'd say maybe super engaged in terms of working in the channel. And you mentioned about the, I think the Slack community, just the way you interact with customers, talking to them, getting their feedback, trying
Absolutely.
That's the way you keep yourself ahead of the game.
Yeah, I mean, we need to know from the people using the software, like what's missing or what do you hate or what's slow or, recently we changed just our user interface just to like make it look prettier. Like people were like, I want to change the color of the background. And we were like, okay, we can do that. Like not me, but our amazing design team and engineering team do that stuff. But yeah, our Slack channel, the Reddit threads, anybody can email, sales at Keeper Security and get a response in 5 minutes. So whatever the need is, whatever the question is, especially with our channel partners. I mean, I spend all of my days talking with our partners, whether it's, reseller partners in the channel space or MSP partners in the channel space. That's my whole job here at Keeper. So I want to keep all of our partners happy. I want to make sure they understand the technology. I want them to be able to sell it. We want to teach them how to sell it and kind of push that out into the world because it makes everyone's life a little easier.
Okay, and finally, as we finish, it'd be good to understand. I know there will be some things you probably can't let us know, but in terms of your plans for the year ahead, Keeper Security, anything you could tell us as to what might be happening, whether it's developing the business or technology solutions, just what could we expect?
Yeah, I can tell you that we're constantly improving the solution. So every time that there's a new release coming out, our CTO Craig does a demo for us in the sales organization just to show us like this is what's coming. So this change is happening within this platform, and I'd have to get you to sign an NDA before I can tell you all the stuff, but he does a really nice job, Craig and his team, of letting us know what's coming down the road, what people are asking for. We recently released password rotation, which was something that a lot of our MSP customers were asking for, because those are the people that are managing other people's credentials. So what they wanted to see was like, how can I rotate this out? Like, how can I enforce people to rotate their passwords without seeing the passwords, without getting into their data, etc. So we take all of those asks and suggestions very seriously. And it shouldn't surprise anybody that if they ask for something, in now or in the first quarter, they might see it in the second quarter, because Craig and the engineering and products team do releases constantly. They're constantly in there, like fixing bugs, or like so-and-so needs this, or this partner asked for this. Can we do this? Like they will write and change code on the fly if you need them to. Like I've seen them on calls where someone says, well, could we get it to do this? And it's, Craig and his team are typing away and doing kind of crazy coding and stuff that I don't understand. And then it's fixed. So they are that fast. They are that adept at changing to what the environment needs, to what the customer needs, to what the partner needs. We're always pivoting to make it better, to make it more secure, to make it faster, easier, whatever the case may be. But we're always open to feedback. We get a lot of great suggestions from our partners, and that's how we keep improving. But yes, that was a long answer to your question. Yes, good things are coming this year, and it'll be a lot of changes that will only benefit our customers and partners even more.
And actually, I just thought of one more thing, if I'm allowed to ask.
Yeah, please.
It will be the final one. AI, obviously the whole world's talking about AI and its impact for good and bad. Just what you're seeing in terms of, everyone's predicting that it's going to do great things to help the good people, if you like, come up with security solutions, but clearly it's going to give the bad actors some extra tools in the box. And just, I don't know, anything you're seeing, or any thoughts as to how that landscape might develop, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, we are seeing it everywhere. I think like you're hearing about AI being able to like spoof people's voices and the phone calls, and it's scary. I personally, I think it's one of those technologies where it's already out there. So now it's like, how do we harness this and use it for good and keep it away from people that are using it for bad? I think that, the internet is the wild, wild west still, and we can't really control what people are going to do. I hope that AI is something, because it can be, and it is something that's helpful, that can, make the world of cybersecurity a little better. I hate hearing stories about it being used for bad, since it can be so helpful. I mean, it can help you write a letter. It can help you help your kid do homework. Maybe that's not something they should be doing, but like, whatever, I don't know, like it can be a great learning tool if it's used correctly. I personally am a little nervous about it, but I also am hopeful that people will use it for good and not evil. We'll see.
No, that's great. I mean, it's been lovely to chat to you, and some great insights into what's going on at Keeper Security, and how you're working with
Likewise.
MSPs. So, Marcia, really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.